Today we're going to be going over the Victory Life Benevolence Policy. So I'm not going to read this whole policy, but I have highlighted a few key sections that I wanted to go over with everyone. So let's dive in. So we've designed a benevolence policy to help lay out the criteria for which benevolence will be given through any of our Victory Life Church campuses. So to start off, the main purpose of the fund is to meet people's basic needs. Now, I know that might seem obvious to many of you, but to define the basic needs is where things get a little bit tricky, and this is where the IRS lays out some of those standards. And we'll go through those in just a moment, but I just wanted to reiterate that this is to meet the needs of a person or a family, as it could be. Now, when it comes to our benevolence fund, something important to know that we've had many questions from at a campus level is that can gifts be given that's directly to this fund for a specific person? So let's say somebody is named Joe and they're having a hardship in our church. Can we, go announce at the stage and raise funds to help Joe? Well, the IRS would consider that a gift directly to an individual, and it would not be something that would be tax deductible if any of those gifts were given. So that's why you're going to see in here that we say that gifts to the benevolence fund may not be earmarked for a specific individual or recipient. So anytime you're wanting to help or bless a specific person and to raise funds for that, it's always best to have the people who want to give straight to that person and for it to not go through the church at all. However, you can always raise funds for a group of people. So let's say that there's a natural disaster that hits a town near you. So you could raise funds to help people affected by the disaster in that town or area. I just always encourage you to be careful when you restrict funds for a specific group of people, because it means you have to use all those funds for that one event and you can't carry them forward. Some of the general guidelines is that assistance from the benevolence fund is intended to be a one-time gift. So the idea behind the benevolence fund is that we're not here to necessarily be the source of income for someone, but we are here as the church to help people in a time of need. So the idea behind this is that we're here to help when unusual circumstances come up, or there's a one-time need that has happened. And very important, and this is one of those IRS type little requirements, is that these cannot be considered a loan. So any payment from the benevolence fund can't be considered a loan. It is not due back to the fund by the recipient. And at times we'll have people that have received benevolence from us that later they want to come back and they want to give back to the church for the church helping them. That is okay only in the scenario that they know that they are not repaying in any form or fashion what we gave to them. So, and you'll see right here it says if someone wants to give back, it's only if we discern that the person understands this is not a payback. But if they want to pay it forward and put money back into the benevolence fund, they could totally do that. That's okay as long as it's not a repayment. Now, some other things to cover. There's criteria. It kind of goes through who's qualified to be recipients. But the main area I really want to talk to you about today is the criteria for what qualifies as a benevolence need and what does not qualify as a benevolence need. So things that qualify to meet basic human needs are going to be lodging, food, clothing, medical treatment, transportation to or from a place of employment, funeral expenses, and initial evaluation and professional counseling appointments. So if you find that somebody is mentally ill or needs help, you can pay for an initial evaluation. It just can't be an ongoing payment where you're covering their cost for all of their counseling sessions. Now, things that do not qualify to be in the benevolence fund: school expenses, business investments, or anything that brings financial profit to the individual or family. And school expenses I'll land on just because we've had people that want to help go to a private Christian school, and that's very near and dear to our heart as a church. However, since education is provided to the general public for free by our government, they do not recognize that as a qualified benevolence item. So that would be taxable if you gave them money for that. Paying off credit cards, and generally the exception is only if there was an emergency crisis that they had to spend credit card money on. But the general rule is that helping someone pay off their credit cards does not qualify for benevolence. Needs of individuals who are wanted by the law, or for paying fines as a result of breaking the law. So those would not qualify either. Legal fees, penalties relating to late payments or irresponsible actions, so those would not qualify. And we specified down in private school fees or tuition because, as we mentioned earlier, the government provides education for free, and so they don't consider that qualified benevolence. And then business ventures or investments. These as well would be non-qualified items. Now, we've also put some other guidelines in here just to help lay out the rules for how much is too much or how much is okay. Because sometimes we've had those questions of, am I allowed to give this much to an individual, or what's an appropriate amount? So the general rule that we've put in here is that benevolence fund assistance will not exceed $1,000 per individual or family, and that is what we put in here, a cumulative amount. So if you assisted them, multiple times in the year, that is a cumulative amount as well. But the goal would be that we don't have to assist someone multiple times, that we give them the help that they need one time, and then help them even maybe with life adjustments or whatever they need to get out of those bad situations. Now, there are some exceptions to the $1,000 limit. So one of those that the IRS even recognizes that is much more open and broad is if there is a natural disaster or similar type catastrophe. The IRS even allows for benevolence amounts to be given to people who are even well off normally. So you might make $150,000 a year, and normally you would not qualify for a benevolence need, but if a tornado destroyed your property and everything you own and you've lost everything, they even allow for help in those immediate, week after to 2 weeks where you have no home or shelter. So there's a lot more exceptions in the need of natural disasters. The general rule is for those to qualify, the government's going to declare a natural disaster zone or area, and if the people you're helping are in those areas, they would qualify for higher amounts of benevolence if needed. But still, the general rule would be the $1,000 limit. Some new things we're putting in place as well is we are putting out 2 new forms. So you've in the past had a benevolence questionnaire that just is what you used for everything. We're now putting out what we call request for assistance. There's an EZ form, which kind of is meant to be easier to fill out, and that's for any items that are $125 or less. So if you have small benevolence help needed here or there, you would use the EZ form. If you're looking to give someone a larger benevolence amount up to the $1,000 limit, then you would use the full application, which has more questions. So I'll show you those forms in just a moment, but I also wanted to cover that generally there's no reporting requirements for people who receive benevolence. However, if the person being helped is an employee, they could be taxable events for them. So those need to be discussed with the Central Human Resource Director if there's an instance where you want to help an employee or the family of an employee. Now, methods for disbursement, generally cash, or gift cards, or other cash equivalent items should not be given directly to an individual. If a person is in need, the best case scenario is always that we meet those needs directly by paying for those. So if they need fuel, that we go straight to the gas station with them and we pay with a ministry credit card for the fuel. If they need food, that we actually buy them food and give them food. So those are always the best case scenario for how benevolence should be given, and that's industry best practice. And it's only in very, very rare circumstances should you have to give out cash or a gift card or something of that nature. So here's the request for resistance EZ form. It requires much less information than the full form, and it's meant for those items that are $125 or less. So this could be things like a hotel stay, if they need a one-night stay in a hotel, or some food, maybe some gas. So this is intended for the recipient to fill this out themselves. So they put in their information up here, and they would actually sign and date this form. And then beneath that is a section for whoever your benevolence administrator is at your campus to fill in. So just to answer, is there any relationship with this person with any staff members? And if so, to detail that out. Now, if you have a benevolence item that's more than $125, you would use the full form, which the top section is the same as the EZ, but there is going to be more information requested here for the recipient to fill out. So those forms are at the end of this policy, which will be made available online. I'll show you that in just a moment. And then again, same section here, they would sign and date, and then our benevolence administrator can also fill in if they are related to the ministry in some fashion. So as a reminder, our policy information is always available on our support sites. If you go to support@vl.church, and then if you go to the important links section at the bottom, you will find that we have the accounting document section. So in here, you will see a list of, there's several folders for different entities and states, but you're also going to see load up our benevolence policy right here. So there's a little preview you can see, but you can always click on it and read through the policy in detail. Again, the end of that policy has the two forms I mentioned, the EZ form and the full form. So please make those available to yourself or your staff as needed. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the Business Administration Department and we'd be happy to help. Thanks.